Hi guys, and welcome back to Worley's Watch Box, and today we'll be doing another review. And today we got a rather affordable piece, and it is the Seiko 5 SNSX77. And I gotta say, I got this for around $70 on sale for Amazon, but I think, if it's not on sale, you can get it easily for around the $100 mark. And I gotta say, this is a really cool, affordable piece that, if you guys pick up, I think you would really enjoy. So with that said, let's get into it. Alright, so here is the Seiko 5 off the wrist. This is model number SNSX77, and right away you can see that really eye-catching blue sunburst dial. That's probably my favorite thing about this watch. I really love the dial, and I think I picked this up for around 70 bucks on sale from Amazon, and normally you can get it for around 100. And we'll get into all this later, but I really think this is great value for money, especially for the price point. I've been very impressed with this Seiko 5, and I've had it for a couple years now. So it's remained in my collection, and I think it'll stay there. Really like this watch. Now, before we begin the review, I'd like to go over the characteristics that makes a Seiko 5 a Seiko 5. And the first one is it has to have automatic winding. It has to be an automatic watch. It has to have a recessed crown at the 4 o'clock position. It has to have a durable case. It has to be water resistant, and this has a water resistance of 30 meters, I believe. And it has to have a day-date display. So those are the 5 characteristics that make a Seiko 5 a Seiko 5. Now, we'll do this review just like all the others, and we'll start off with the timekeeping. Now, the timekeeping is a 9 out of 10. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I've been wearing this for about 5 days now, and, for the basic movement it has, it's still within the minute, and so very impressed with that, especially over the time span that I've been wearing it. Now, the movement this has is rather basic. It's the ever-reliable 7S26 movement, and it does have a display case back here, so, it's not really finished elegantly or anything, but it really is a true workhorse movement. And, no hand winding, no hacking, and Seiko has since, I believe, kind of phased this movement out and replaced it with the 4R36 movement, which does have both hand winding and hacking. But, this watch will last you forever, and it'll just do the job for you. Now, moving on to the functionality of this, like I said, it's keeping great time. The lume on this is actually rather impressive, especially for the price point, and, the price of this watch is going to be sort of a common theme throughout this review. The lume, gets charged quickly and it lasts a while. And it's rather bright for most of the time. If you do check this, like in the middle of the night, you might have to look a little closer, but it is there. So overall, very good lume, especially for the price you're paying. Now, it does have 30 meters water resistance, which is nothing special. I probably wouldn't recommend showering with it even, definitely not swimming with it, but against normal hand washing and splashes here and there and maybe some rain, it'll probably be okay. So functionality, very good on this watch overall. Now, moving on to one of its downfalls, and I'll pick it up here, is the bracelet. It's kind of a jangly bracelet a little bit, has a stamped clasp, and fold-over links with hollow end links. So nothing fancy at all. I tried to resize this, and I gotta be honest, it is a pain in the dick. It is really just a hassle to try and resize it, and I just took this watch off the bracelet pretty much immediately. But like I said, I do have a replacement Jubilee bracelet on the way that will hopefully be a good replacement for that terrible bracelet. But, for the price you're paying, it is what it is. And if you actually do have it on the wrist, it's not too bad. It is, it's pretty comfortable, but, I'd recommend replacing it with something else. So moving on to the finishing of this watch, nothing fancy. It's high polish all the way around, and I'm not sure if you can quite see it on camera, but the date window isn't super smooth. The indices are done okay. You know, it's good for the price point. I kind of wish this beveling here was polished, or it had some, or no, I'm sorry, not polished, brushed surface, or, you know, some sort of brushing on this case somewhere, but it does lack that. So, you know, it's okay for what it is. Now the crystal, I do believe it is a mineral crystal. I don't even think it's Rolex. Now if I'm wrong on that, please correct me in the comments. So, you know, no anti-reflective coating, you know, just a basic crystal for an entry-level watch. It is what it is. So the case design, kind of reminiscent of old Seikos, kind of from the 60s and 70s. It's all right. I like the beveling here. It's kind of a nice touch. Nothing fancy, but overall, not bad. Not bad. I do wish that it had a signed crown and that the crown was a little bigger. It does have a see-through case back, which is, you know, nice little touch there. But overall, just pretty basic. Nothing fancy. Now the size of this watch, I do love the size of it. It's 38 millimeters, which is absolutely perfect. It really is. You know, fits my wrist well, and we'll throw that up there. I like it. You know, for me, I enjoy the smaller watches, so I'm not going to complain about that at all. Now, I do want to take a step back real quick about the case design. I did neglect to mention it while talking about it, and I mentioned this earlier, is that 19 millimeter lug width. You know, why do that? Make it 18 or 20. Why 19? It's just a hassle to find straps for it, and I mean, you can find them out there, but it's just, why do that? That's just a pain in the ass. So, you know, I would dock it a little bit, just a little bit for that. You know, you find more 19 millimeter on vintage watches. I think in today's age, making it 18 or 20 is not going to take away from the proportions or anything of this watch, and it would just be better to do it that way. But that's just my opinion. Moving on to the main event of this review is that dial, and I mentioned this at the beginning. It's got that really nice blue sunburst dial. I love the handset on this, and I love those stick or baton markers and the thickly applied lume. I just think it looks really good, and it looks somewhat, you know, aesthetically to a Rolex Datejust or an Oyster Perpetual. You know, obviously this is not really even comparable with a Rolex, but if you're going for that sort of aesthetic, then I think this is a really good affordable option. You know, not all of us can afford Rolexes, you know, not even really me. So, you know, I think this is a really good option if you're looking for a watch that looks similar to a Datejust or Oyster Perpetual, and you just don't have the budget for it, which this is perfect for it, I think. You know, this is a good, I don't know if I'd really consider it a dress watch, but, you know, the Datejust and Oyster Perpetual are considered sport watches, and I think I would consider this a sport watch as well. So, you know, if you're going for that look, again, can't go wrong with this option. Now, the value of this is fantastic. You know, I might ding it in the score, but, you know, I think overall for the price point, you're getting great value for money, and this watch is absolutely perfect at the $70 to $100 price point. Alright, so moving on to our scoring. Now the timekeeping, we'll give that a 9 out of 10. It's been keeping phenomenal time for me. The movement, you know, no hand winding, no hacking. It's pretty basic. I think it deserves a 6 out of 10 here. It's outdated. Yes, it's reliable, but, you know, it's just missing a lot of those modern updated features that you would expect out of a movement these days. So 6 out of 10 as far as that goes. The functionality, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Like I said, it's keeping great time. The lume is far better than you would get out of anything or from any other brand of this price point. You know, it lasts pretty much throughout the night, keeps a good charge, and gets charged up quickly. So, you know, I think the lume definitely helps out the functionality there. I do wish the water resistance was a bit better, though, and higher than just 30 meters. Now moving on to the bracelet. Yeah, this thing is pretty much crap. I wouldn't recommend it at all. Don't really care for it in the slightest. Now moving on to the finishing, it's okay. The hands are done rather well. The case is high polished all the way around. I do wish it had some brushed surfaces in there. The date window is okay. It's not the smoothest. I don't think you could really see that on camera that much, but it's okay. Finishing 6 out of 10. Now the crystal, I think, is just, like I said earlier, a mineral crystal. I don't think it's Rolex. It's definitely not sapphire. It doesn't have anti-reflective coating. You know, it's okay. It's a basic crystal for an entry-level watch. It is what it is, so 6 out of 10. The case design, yeah, it's okay. It's a little basic. It's got some beveling here, but nothing too fancy. I do wish it had a signed crown and that the crown was a little bigger, and I don't like the 19mm lug width. So 7 out of 10 there. Now the size, I'll give that a 10 out of 10. It's 38mm. That's kind of the sweet spot for me, and really, really like the size of this watch. Now the dial gets a 9 out of 10. Now why didn't I give it a 10 out of 10? Well, it's actually not because of the day-date window. Normally I would take off for that, but you know, that day-date functionality there is actually what makes a Seiko 5 a Seiko 5, as we went over in the beginning of the video. And I love this dial, but the reason I have to take off 1 point and give it a 9 out of 10 is because of the finishing. You know, the finishing is a part of this dial, and it's not done the greatest. So I'm only going to take off 1 point for that, and a 9 out of 10. Still pretty damn good. Now the value of this watch, definitely a 10 out of 10. I think if you can find this on sale for around the $70 mark, you are getting a lot of watch for very little money, and it is just really, really good value. It's a perfect everyday watch. So that gives us a total score of a 77. Now, yes, it's the lowest scoring watch on the list, but you can see it's only 2 points south of the Tissot Visit-8. And the Visit-8 is a far more expensive watch, whether you buy it used or new. So this watch really does hold its own against some more pricier pieces. So, you know, I know it's the lowest score on there, but it truly is a good watch at the end of the day. Alright guys, this wraps up the review of the Seiko 5 SNSX77. I hope you guys liked the video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave that down below. Make sure to subscribe and like the video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.